Hi, I'm Helena, and I am a photographer based in San Francisco.
Oh, I'm David Olson, and I've been in general management and high tech in Palo Alto for the last 25 years.
Have you ever altered your behavior, style of dress, or plans out of fear for your physical safety or to avoid harassment or sexual assault? And if so, name the situation.
I actually have not. Have you ever altered your appearance for fear of safety or sexual harassment?
I've altered my behavior and plans for sure. Men in the city in particular that are very aggressive and will catcall you, they'll chase you down the street, they'll follow you, they'll, seem to be friendly at first, and if you're not responsive, they'll get aggressive. And it doesn't happen in front of other people or in front of men most of the time, so my boyfriend's never seen it happen, but it still happens about 3 or 4 times a week.
Have you ever changed your diet or exercise patterns because you wanted to change your body? Tell me about it.
I think there is pressure to look like you have control over your health, particularly in San Francisco. And I do a lot of work in the tech industry, and for better or for worse, I do think that physical appearance plays a part. So I think there's just a general pressure to take care of yourself and your body. People may question your self-control if you don't have control over your physical self. What about you?
I have, but for different reasons. I think for me, I've always wanted to feel fit, feel like I can handle things physically in the world. And probably for the last 10 or 15 years, I've also been aware that it's easier to get out of shape, it's easier to feel older and look older. And I think I'm also aware that as I've gotten older, people's attitudes and impressions of capabilities change. And it's, I'm in technology, very competitive, very youth-oriented.
Yeah.
So I've also seen it as important to maintain good physical condition because in a way it makes me more credible at work.
Okay, next question. Have you ever felt passed over for an employment position based on your gender?
No, that's an easy one for me. I haven't. I've felt passed over for other reasons, but not for gender.
Have you ever felt uncomfortable about a joke or humor concerning your gender?
That's a tough one because, yes, probably. Because a lot of jokes sort of imply that men are dopes, that they're sort of clueless, that they're wandering around like a bumpkin typically, and just unaware of reality. And I enjoy a good joke, and there's some truth to that stereotype.
Yeah.
But occasionally I do feel like that men are often the butt of jokes for being essentially clueless or simpletons. So can you describe what the word privilege or privilege means to you?
I think privilege does exist. I think it would be foolish to say that it doesn't. I'm honestly not sure how to address it because it is such a intangible thing. It's not measurable, it's not quantifiable. It's sort of this, it's an invisible force, and it only exists as much as people are willing to acknowledge it, and if everyone denies it, it doesn't exist. And so, I honestly don't know what can be done about it other than I do think it's a good thing that people can at least acknowledge that it exists without necessarily being able to define it.
I tend to think of privilege for myself very broadly, and I think of it as access to opportunities, access to people, access to experience, and privileged people have much more access. But I don't think of it in terms of gender. Not because it doesn't exist, it's
Yeah.
just my consciousness is not set up to look at it that way.
Absolutely.
But in my perception, it's more economically based than gender based. And I also see a difference between people who have earned privilege, earned access, earned special opportunities, and those who've been born into it or given it. And I actually feel a certain disdain for the people who've inherited privilege